So I have kind of wish-washed back and forth about whether or not to make this video, but I finally decided to do it because, yeah, I just have some information that I feel like would have been helpful for me. Last night, Cam had a febrile seizure. Febrile, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's essentially a fairly not harmful seizure that occurs mostly in children when their bodies see a rapid increase or decrease in temperature. We tested positive for COVID yesterday morning. Cam started getting a fever yesterday afternoon-ish. I gave him some Tylenol. He finally was able to take a nap, laid down, and then he woke up just moaning. And then he sat up and was just shaking uncontrollably. And I went and I sat in front of him, and he was looking at me, but he was not looking at me. Like, he was not there. He was not present or conscious in himself. And I knew the moment he came to, because he started screaming and crying, and he looked so scared. So scared. And I didn't know what to do. You know, I held him and I was sobbing, and we called 911, and we were on hold with 911 for over 2 minutes, and I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know that you could be on hold for emergency services, and call that privilege, call it whatever you want, but that is not something that I ever knew or have experienced. And so that was wild to me. And I finally got to the point where I was like, I'm going to drive him up to the firehouse because it's closer than the ER and there's always someone there. And finally 911 came back on the line, and thankfully there happened to be a fire crew right up the road from us, a couple houses up the road from us, and they stopped by, and the ambulance wasn't far behind, and they all agreed that it sounded like a febrile seizure, and we went to the ER for some follow-up. As soon as the initial main event was over, I immediately thought it was a seizure. I didn't specifically know that it was called a febrile seizure, but I kind of knew that that's what it was, because I used to have a student that had seizures, and I kind of have seen what they can look like and how they can manifest in people. The dispatcher said, sounds like it could have been a febrile seizure. The firefighters get here. There were 4 of them. They were all so great. Sounds like a febrile seizure. The EMTs get here, 2 of them. Sounds like a febrile seizure. We get to the ER. They're checking us in. We're COVID positive, so we have to go to an isolation room. The nurse is talking to us. Sounds like a febrile seizure. And one thing that I know now that I didn't know going in to the ER is febrile seizures are fairly common. Not so common that, you know, you're going to know a ton of people that have experienced it, like the cold, like a common cold, but common enough that they happen to enough children. And they're, like I said, fairly not dangerous. And there's no treatment for them. They happen, and you kind of just have to let them go through their course, and then that's it. So we get to the ER, we're rolled into a isolation room, and this doctor comes in, and she asks me to explain what happened. I explain it to her, and she says, "Oh, sounds like he just had shakes from his fever." I said respectfully That's not what happened. My son has had shakes from a fever before, and that is not what this was. He was not present in his body. He was not there at all for 20, 30 seconds and shaking uncontrollably. This was not just fever shakes. And she said, you know, if it were a seizure, he would have lost consciousness, he would have stopped breathing, and he would have turned blue. That's not true. Not all seizures result in loss of consciousness, loss of breathing, and turning blue. And that is incredibly dangerous information to give to somebody. Every illness presents itself differently, and every seizure presents itself differently. So for you to tell a parent that, oh, it absolutely was not a seizure because these 3 things didn't happen, is harmful. And okay, I'm going to try and make this my last one. But it's harmful and dangerous to tell someone that information. And I personally know that those things are not true, but someone else might not. And it's dangerous because febrile seizures are not dangerous on their own. But if a child continues to have seizures occur, that's when it can become an issue. And that's when you should start seeking out a doctor, a specialist. So for you to tell someone that in order for it to be a seizure, loss of consciousness, loss of breathing, and turning blue have to occur is dangerous because it's not true. And a parent might see, or a caregiver might see those, what they think is a seizure happening to their child, and then they'll be like, oh, no, the doctor said loss of breathing, loss of consciousness, turning blue. And that's not true. A child, absolutely, anyone can have a seizure without those 3 things happening. And so to just spread that information blows my mind. And then the other thing was, she just made me feel like a fucking asshole for coming into the ER. And I know it's because I was COVID positive, and I get it, but I'm a first-time mom. Nothing like that has ever happened to my kid before. And that's terrifying. And I didn't know that is what it was, and how she goes, you know what the treatment is for a febrile seizure? Even if it was a febrile seizure, you know what the treatment is? Absolutely nothing. Okay, that's great. Thank you. But I'm a first-time mom, and I don't know that. And the firefighters and EMTs both recommended that we come to the ER. And everything I looked up about febrile seizures said to call 911. The first thing said, if it is the first time that your child has had a seizure. Okay? Fuck you, ER doc. And this is also just a reminder that doctors are professionals. Sometimes. This one's bedside manner kind of sucked. But doctors are professionals, but they are not experts. And they are definitely not experts in your child. And anyone who knows me and who has been around long enough knows that I am a fierce advocate. And just today's reminder to always advocate for yourself and your child and whoever it is you're advocating for, because no one has their interests better in mind. Whatever, you guys know what I'm trying to say. You have their best interests in mind, and no one knows their child better, and no one is going to advocate for their child harder. So just today's reminder to go with your gut, do what your little mama, dada, grandparent, caregiver, whatever heart is telling you to, and really advocate for yourself and your kid. And don't be afraid to fuck some doctors up. if you need to. No, I'm just kidding. But absolutely remember that doctors don't know everything. No one knows everything, you know? And we're all still learning and growing. And if you don't agree with something, especially in a medical setting that concerns your child, speak up about it. Speak up about it because no one else is going to do it, you know? And if they refuse to listen, talk to someone else. Do your own research. You know, there's a lot of options. And yeah, this is just getting kind of like long and babbly, but be an advocate for yourself and your kiddo, and you know what's best for them, and use doctors like as a tool, right? And that's what they are. They're not the end all be all, or however that goes. And just keep doing what you think is best for your family. Do I regret going to the ER last night? Absolutely not. Not at all. I didn't know what was going on was less serious. You know, it felt so serious and all-consuming and scary. Do I regret going to the ER? No. Nope. Not even an ounce of me, because I was able to get that sound mind of knowing everything else was okay. And, you know, we got other tests done. No pneumonia, no bronchitis. So that gave me peace of mind too.